Hi, I'm Rachel White with Horizon Link here with Chet Cooper, the faculty athletics representative at Youngstown State, who also served as the chair of our Horizon Link FAR group for several years. So we're just going to catch up with Chet here and talk a little bit about what FARs do and what their role is in the Horizon League. So first question, just talk a little bit about what an FAR is and what your role is with the Youngstown State Athletic Department first.
Okay, well, thanks, Rachel, for having me today. A faculty athletic rep is actually mandated by the NCAA. Every institution's supposed to have a faculty member who is the representative of the academic division and is liaison between the academic end of the institution and the athletic end. So, and you work at the pleasure of the president or chancellor, depending upon the institution. The unfortunate part of the NCAA regulation is it never actually defines what a faculty athletic rep is supposed to do. So there's actually a national organization of faculty athletic representatives, and they've come out with a general outline of what faculty reps are supposed to do. But it still is up to the individual institutions of what they do. And so some institutions in our league have very defined functions of a FAR, others have less defined, but still nonetheless very important things that faculty members need to do. Now here at YSU, I don't deal so much in compliance. I deal mostly with student welfare, and I advocate for the students, making sure that they are being treated in the way they're supposed to be treated. But also importantly, because I tell every recruit I come in contact with, they're responsible for their academic welfare and as well as their decorum here on campus. So I sort of have one foot in each area. And I, in my personal case, I also have a second role here on campus. I'm chair of the academic senate. So therefore, I have a broader perspective on what is required academically, both for student athletes and non-student athletes. So I try to make sure that I interact with student athletes as well as the coaches, and when needed, also the faculty here at the institution.
Definitely. And then obviously in the Horizon League governance structure, there's a role for FARs. So talk a little bit about kind of what you guys are responsible for helping with at the league level.
Well, at the league level, I would say, first of all, we all have the common goal of student welfare, and that's the bottom line of everything. So every time something's brought to council, every action, we sort of look at it from perspective, how's this benefit or not benefit our student athletes? So we look at those different things, and you know, there's always something that comes up. This last year obviously was COVID, and there are a lot of parameters that had to be dealt with there. But one thing we like to also do is recognize the accomplishments of our student athletes. So every sports season, we vote on the best student athletes in a given sport based upon their, not just their what they've accomplished within their sport, but also in the classroom. Every semester we do an academic honor roll of all student athletes. And then at the end of the year, we have a postgraduate fellowship. We award one to a male, one to a female student athlete based upon not just academics, but what they have done for their university and their community. So those are, again, it's all based upon benefiting our student athletes. And, you know, the crux of the whole thing, the only reason the league really exists, at least from a faculty representative's viewpoint, is the student athlete.
Definitely. And you had an opportunity to be the chair of the FAR group. And so you were actually the representative of that group on our council, voting alongside our athletic directors and our senior women's administrator and student athlete representative. So talk a little bit about that experience and what that was like being the representative.
Well, first of all, it was kind of an honor to have all the other faculty reps ask me to take care of that position for the last couple of years. What was really good was I got to see the inside workings of how the council works as well as the board of directors. I was also appointed as a, can't remember the exact word, but basically an adjunct member of the board of directors without vote. But you got to see how things worked and the thought processes. And I actually, based upon, interacting with my fellow faculty reps, bring the opinions of the faculty to the council and to the board of directors and help influence key decisions, primarily, again, focused on student athlete welfare. And so that was an extraordinarily interesting tenure for me. I get to know all the athletic directors, and they're all great people. And there's a certain camaraderie among all of them, and uh, um, they like poking fun at each other. I thought that was pretty good. It's not as dog eat dog world out there, although occasionally we're there's a little rivalry there, but they all seem to be good friends, and they listen to everything. They may not have acted in the way you may have wanted as far as the faculty reps concurred, but they listened. And I think that is a key component. In my mind, that's what here at YSU we call shared governance, listening and getting feedback. And so I thought that was one of the key elements of the Horizon League, is that it operates on the basis of shared governance. And I really found it enjoyable. This past year was a little tense because we had, as Rachel, we had bi-weekly, or twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week meetings of the council because of the situation dealing with COVID. But in the end, it was all worth it.
Definitely a challenging year. So that's a good segue. How would you say that the work of the FARs as a group kind of maybe changed a little during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, the first issue is because of all the restrictions, almost none of us, or very few of us, got to interact with many student athletes as we normally do. Normally, quite a few of us, we interact with the different teams, the coaches, the athletic staff itself. We often go on travel with teams to different competitions, and we go to sporting events. And so the restrictions dealing with the coronavirus pandemic restricted a lot of that, if not all of it. And so we didn't get to know our student athletes as well as we normally would like. And I really missed that this year. And I'm starting to get, with things easing up just a little bit, I'm starting to meet more of the student athletes. In my role here, many of the coaches also asked me to meet with some of their recruits. So that often was curtailed as well too, because, no face-to-face meetings basically. The other thing is, with regard to COVID, the council developed a lot of safety policies with regard to competition and practices, and the faculty reps had some input into that, and that restricted access to the teams. And so it was kind of a difficult year in that sense, getting those student athletes. And then also in my case, and I'm sure many of my other colleagues, a lot of times there was no face-to-face classes, just kids were struggling in class, and you want to advocate for these kids, making sure that they're getting their education and getting their work done. And it just overall, just like the general population, it just put a crimp into trying to get things done in a effective way.
For sure. And you hit on this a little, but what do you think was the most challenging aspect of being a FAR over the past year?
Not seeing my student athletes. They're wonderful individuals. Some present more challenges than others, obviously, but overall they're great people. I missed interacting with the coaches. The coaches, they realize I take academics very seriously, and they respond positively with me. So not being able to interact directly, only indirectly with student athletes and the coaching staff, and also the athletic division staff. I would pop in the offices now and then, and the athletic director, Ron Strollo, and I would meet periodically. We still met in a sense. We usually have breakfast at least once a month together, go over issues and things. And all of that, that was the biggest challenge, just keeping open communication and seeing people. What happened with the general public happened at the campus level too. It was just a difficult year of not having that person-to-person contact.
Definitely no argument here. I think we all experienced that on some level, but we'll end on a more positive note with the last question. What is the most rewarding part of being a FAR?
Watching your student athletes actually succeed beyond the athletic field. And I'm not talking about our student athletes going into professional sports or things like that, just getting out there and being a great success in life, fulfilling their dreams. And I always hearken back to a basketball player, female basketball player we had here years ago named Aaliyah Sabri. And she wasn't a starter on the women's basketball team, but she was a contributor. She worked hard, and it was challenging times, and she maintained loyalty in that. And actually, I had her in class. She was a biology major at one point, and she did very well academically. She was a decent ball player, but I guess she saw the light and went into law rather than biology. And today, she's been elected a judge in Detroit. So she's a municipal judge in Detroit. Very proud of her. And we have other success stories like that. So being a success, getting the most out of their lives, that's the most rewarding part for a faculty athletic rep.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for giving us a little peek into the world of the FARs and talking to us a little bit about how everything's changed. It's just great to hear your perspective on putting the student athletes first in the league.
Well, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it, and wish you the best too.